This is the first day of the amateur hour uh, season, and we're about to get into our first round here between London and Houston Galaxy. Also, by the sounds of it, I might be the only person available to cast today, so we're going to be spending a lot of time together if you're watching the stream or the VOD. Alright, after I just had to go ahead and check something very quickly, now we're unmuted and we should be good to go. So, once again, London versus Houston, first round of the regular season, and we're off.
Traveling to Hanamura.
Does look like it's going to be Houston's first attack. Now, I've seen both of these teams quite a few times. The London side has a lot of players who we've seen quite a lot in this league. Cybersaurus kind of has a bit of a knack for getting himself pulled in as a substitute for other games. So as far as just general experience goes, Cybersaurus has played quite a lot comparatively to just about everyone else. But the question is that going to translate into being able to help his team take this first actual regular season fight? The defensive side have picked their heroes. I'm going to go ahead and open up the stream myself so I can actually see what these comments are, because otherwise that shit is not going to happen.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
It's a bit of an interesting decision here from the London side. They're picking a bit of a dive defense. Now, what's especially interesting about this is a dive defense, but it's something that we don't usually see in this league, especially because this map you usually want to defend the choke. Usually you need a good shield tank for that, which Winston is not really. There's a very flexible composition, but it's going to depend a lot on mechanical skill in order to outmatch the probably stronger composition for this map that Houston's running with this GOATS comp. They're trying to make their way in. They don't want to get too caught up here. They don't want to take too much damage or use too many resources before the actual fight begins. And it's going to be pretty difficult here. London can't even really find a way to approach onto this. They know that if they get in too close, it's just going to be a death ball. Menahan going down, trading for Leo. JP just grinding out his ult charge, feeding off of this diva. But Turbo Kermit getting the D-Mech. Wesley just assigning to Suicide. This is a bit of a chaotic fight here. The ult comes out but doesn't get anything. That's really unfortunate. He will die for it. Turbo Kermit going down. Medahunt back, getting another kill onto Leo. Seems like if Medahunt is alive, Leo cannot be. However, the side of Houston is still pulling this back. Medahunt is just trying to delay for as long as he can, and it's going to be difficult now as his keeps on going down faster and faster and faster. Cybersaurus looking like he wanted to go for that res, but it would have been all in vain. It would have just fed more ult charge. Regardless, this is still going to be Houston's capture. And now Houston is going to have about 6 ultimates as they try and take the second point. Meanwhile, the side of London only appears to have these 3 ultimates. Maybe the Diva Bomb. Maybe. They're already giving up the first tick. They can't really aggress onto this, and they know that. But finally they go in. Grubmark's it's a good first pick. The ultimates are coming out. Ultimately, the trans still not enough to save everyone, but it will save enough. Both bombs coming out, one being much more successful than the other. So many kills and a D-Mech coming off of that bomb. That's exactly what Houston were looking for. However, they've used a lot of ults here. The only one that they have left is Sound Barrier, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was enough. It would surprise me quite a lot if London were able to come back in and recontest this. They do have a spawn advantage, but is that going to be enough? As Wesley swaps onto the Hamster, just trying to go onto more delay-like heroes, Turbo Kermit tries in vain to get any sort of kill with that Deadeye. Unfortunately, it's just not happening. Turbo Kermit now going down, so is Wesley. Rotary managing to find a slight crack in the wound, get at that Lucio, but is it going to be enough? It should be pretty significant, but Cybersaurus himself is just going to get pinned. Rotary taking out the D-Mech. But the Coalescence, the support ultimates are coming through from both sides. This fight is getting more and more delayed, and honestly, the longer it goes, the more it's in favor of London. The ultimates are still coming out though. They're still crushing this defensive side. Much more than they themselves are being crushed. Pulse Bomb coming out, doesn't manage to find anything. Rotary does, off of the back of that damage, get the D-Mech, but is it going to be enough? Cybersaur is still contesting. Wesley still contesting. Everyone is still contesting here. This contest has gone on for more than like a minute and a half. It's really impressive, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be enough, as finally, for the Houston side, they do manage to get everyone off the point just long enough for the capture. And you can argue that was just a really strong attack from Houston. I'd argue that as far as second goes, it was an equally strong recontest. Now, whether that was maybe on the fault of Houston not being able to pick out and focus specific targets, or if it was because of London's pure mechanical skill at staying alive, we've yet to see, and it will be interesting as we go into this next round. London has really tall order to try and at least equate the amount of time that their opponents have gotten. Defensive side of Houston is slowly making their way out. There's a pretty interesting composition. They've kind of got just about everything. They've got the hit scan and the Widow. They've got the Junkrat for the spam, shield break, and that tire. Tire is very strong on Onamura defense, really just about any 2CP defense, so I can't blame them. Tank line is pretty standard for this map. Meanwhile, the London side, taking a page out of their opponent's book, is going to be running this GOATS composition. They're a little bit split. Zarya going left, the rest of them going right. I'm not sure why. They want to aggress on as fast as they possibly can with this composition. They're making their way in, but not really managing to get too much done. No one's died yet, except finally Mickey the Fallen does fall. Leo, up top, manages to get the pick onto Cybersaurus. This is a little bit of a skirmish going on. London have positioned themselves to start taking control of this point, but that doesn't mean that they're winning this fight. Wesley takes out Mickey. Mickey falls once again. Slam comes through, but it's not going to be followed up on. No one else is alive to do it. Turbo Kermit does manage to pick off Trust Me I'm Lying, but it's no lie that the rest of this fight went the way of Houston. London's still playing into this GOATS composition, can't really blame them. Cybersaurus is going to go down, that's unfortunate. They'll have to wait another about 15 seconds before they can actually make a meaningful push. speaking of pushing, Ageless Beauty pushing right into their spawn. Try to punish them for that, but it's just not happening. And now, unfortunately for London, they're pushing into so many ultimates that can just completely wipe their team. They managed to block the Shatter, but they don't block the charge. Tire coming through, is it gonna find anyone? It at least finds a D-Mech. And with the added damage of already taking out Turbo Kermit and Metahun from Leo, that's gonna be more than enough. Grubmerk with a grab of his own. He kind of wants to wait for the rest of his team to be here. He needs a full follow-up on this, but notice that the side of Houston do not actually have any sort of ultimates that can defend against a Graviton. So he's looking for it, he's going in deep, he's only going to find the Zarya and finally the Brig. I think he was expecting it to have a little bit more range than it otherwise would, but after that nerf, the Grab gets considerably less space. Just trying to kind of box out the enemy Zarya, but the rest of his team is winning this fight on the point. This should be theirs. JP is going to take himself out. He won't let the world decide how he dies. He chooses how he dies like a man. Unfortunately for London, they don't have any ultimates to try and take this next fight fast, and they're going to be playing into a lot of really powerful ultimates from the enemy team. Adam slamming down. A lot of ultimates used. Yeah, all of the ultimates used on the side of Houston, and they will get the fight win off of that, but you have to wonder if maybe they wouldn't have liked to have done that a little bit more cleanly. London now going on to more of a dive tanky sort of strat. This isn't technically a dive comp, but... and that is unfortunate. Leo proving himself to be pretty good with this sniper, as he takes down Grubmerk as well. You do not want to duel Leo right now. Grubmerk, frustrated perhaps, now swapping onto the Genji. He doesn't want his head getting taken off like that again. In fact, he probably wants to try and harass Leo if possible. Everside coming out, still looking for those hits, getting a bit pressured, has to fall back. Rally to me. Leo taking out Grubmerk again. It's just got to be frustrating at this point, especially. I don't just mean for Grub, I mean for the entire London team. They can't seem to get a word in edgewise around here. Every single push is just met with the barrel of Leo's sniper rifle. Two teams are kind of staging up here. Cybersaurus almost going down. Leo getting a bit pressure himself, but they're going to get the D-Mech and probably tilt Turbo Kermit off of the back of that. Leo kind of wanted to take that duel, but now he sees that it's not really in the best place for him, so he has to back off. Grubmerk finally getting a nice spot of revenge. Trying to do some chip damage. Try to get ult charge. That's all that Grubmerk can be doing right now. Does manage a pretty good deflect. Gonna get something off of that. Turbo Kermit going on to the Soldier 76. He kind of wants to play this Soldier. Now playing Soldier here is a bit weird. You're playing into a Widowmaker who, especially if they're as good as Leo, will just outclass a Soldier. You're trying to use Soldier against all these armored up enemies, which is really just very difficult. It kind of just turns Soldier's gun into like a water gun for all intents and purposes. Slam down comes through. Turbo Kermit's gonna get pinned. Big slam is all you can really say of that. Medan stuck. He's gonna get taken down eventually, or at least he should be. Trust me, I'm lying. Struggling just a little bit. Trades are still coming out evenly. Grubmerk slicing and dicing through the enemy team. He's managing to find quite a lot here. Actually, quite a good amount of leeway gotten, but does that mean that they can keep this up going into this? Grubmerk sees the threat of Leo's Widowmaker and he wants to take her out, or at least harass her. Widowmaker gets taken down, but finally the Junkrat Tower coming through. What's it gonna find? Is it gonna find anything? It does manage to find Grubmerk, but that's about it. Roderi still trying to keep his teammates alive, but it looks like the flow of this battle is still just going in Houston's direction, especially now with that slam down. A lot of good progress made for the side of London, but that does not mean that it is going to be enough progress to actually get the full cap. Turbo Current might want to be a little bit careful here. He almost gets himself staggered. Leo deciding that he needs to play something a little bit more aggressive in that close-up fight. Swaps off of the Widowmaker onto the Hanzo. Can't really blame him. Turbo Kermit with his tactical visor. But again, he's going to be shooting it into a lot of shields, a lot of armor. Grubmerk almost getting himself caught out. Grubmerk slices through the enemy backside. They're in a really bad position here, London, because they're about to cap. Even if they do cap right here, which looks pretty unlikely in and of itself, even if they do, they're not going to have time. They're going to be pushed into overtime. And because of that, they're not going to have another chance to try and cap next time around. Meanwhile, Houston would. Fortunately, it looks like, luckily for the side of Houston, they're not even going to get that far. Just manages to not get back on. Pretty huge for Houston, winning this first round fairly handily. They have a lot of things going for them. Probably just not only better DPS picks, but also really skillful executions on those picks. We saw Leo ending a lot of fights as Widowmaker before they even began. We saw them really struggling to find any sort of way to deal with that. Generally, the ultimates of the Houston side, even if they were used a bit, I'll say ridiculously, in terms of using perhaps 3 ultimates when they only needed 1, even if they were used a bit in excess, they were always used really well in terms of that they would end team fights just about immediately. London kind of struggling to find a sort of rhythm to play that into, by the looks of it. So we're about to go onto map 2, which I now have to find. Map 2 is going to be Lijiang Tower. Alright, looks like we're pretty good to go. Doesn't seem like anyone is telling me otherwise, but I'll just go ahead and check first. Okay, yep, we're good to go.
Now arriving at Lijiang Tower.
Lijiang should generally kind of favor the side of Houston here as well. Houston have proven that they really like running Ryan and Zarya, which, especially on this map, Control Center, Ryan and Zarya does really well with. London, before the round starts, looking like they might be leaning towards a Goats composition. Can't really blame them. Goats is also very strong here. Might be a bit of a weird Goats with a hog. That'd be interesting. It'll be neat to see what Houston does actually pick here. Right now, they've kind of got a bit of an odd selection. I don't think that this is going to be what they actually run with, but a small part of me kind of hopes so. The small, childish part of me that hopes to dream and wishes Disney World was real
2, 1. Round 1.
No, it's going to be a kind of standard 2-2-2 comp coming from the Houston side. Two flanking DPS. This is going to be generally kind of weaker against what London is running. They're going to depend on individual skill to kind of carry them through that. Meta in the enemy team's backside with the Brig to support them. Somehow neither one of them are dying just yet. They are managing to find something. They are going to trade out both Brigidas. However, Meta is going to go down. That leaves one team with the Reinhardt and the other team without. And they're not going to be a fan of that, especially because Jadam now has his Shatter. If he finds an opportunity to use it, I don't put it past him to. Trying to smack the Lucio off this point. Lucio goes down to 1, but it's not enough. He's getting slowly passively healed. He finds the slam, manages to find a few, but not the actual Ryan himself, and he's going to get punished for that as Brigida also finds a bit of an opening here. JP poking around. He's still somehow staying alive on this point. It's a little bit of a struggle here for the Houston side. They were so dominant, but they just couldn't get the last couple stragglers in time. And finally, the London side were able to come back from their spawn room and kind of steamroll them in that recontest. Speaking of steamroll, so many ultimates being used. They want to kill the enemy team in their spawn doors. Bit aggressive, but I can't blame them. That's a lot of good charge on the control point. Both teams have a bevy of ultimates. Both teams looking to find this grab. Grub almost has his. Charge comes through that puts London at a bit of a disadvantage starting this. They're trying to mitigate that with a few ultimates of their own, but they're going to be doing that into this Graviton. Moira going down, almost going down himself, the Genji. Jadam's trying his hardest, but the healing is just too powerful. He can't really find much of anything before he himself goes down. Grubmerk trying to take out Leo. Just missing the beam just a little bit too much. Trust me, I'm lying. Managing to find a lot of damage with that Reaper that Leo is able to capitalize on with the blade. Aegis V, both sides pretty equal here on the point at this stage until finally Aegis V is going to go down. This is, yeah, as the rest of the London side start coming back in, Houston is going to get taken out. JP trying to get a little bit of chip damage in. Cybersaurus as well. Slam comes down, gets a few, enough to end this push before it even really began. And as the time is now at 90% for London, that's not really some deaths that they can afford to have. They know what they have to push in. Leo's trying to find something here. Jada manages to just barely touch, so he'll get into overtime. But does that mean much of anything? Leo's trying his hardest and manages to find 2 previously, but it's not going to be enough. He's just a few seconds away from his ultimate and just doesn't find it. This time around, the stronger, more solidarity-focused GOATS composition of London does manage to get in some work, find the kills faster, find them a bit harder, and 100-0 their opponents. Now this map is a little bit different than the others. You can lean into environmental kills. I like running hamster ball on this map because you can basically just kick people out of the point from those gates. But it doesn't look like anyone's really interested in that. London's still running this GOATS composition. Houston trying to find a way to deal with it with this Pharah, Winston, Reaper. A lot of things that theoretically could cut through this massive amount of healing and shields, especially now as a few of them get purpled. Leo is going to manage to take out Cybersaurus. That's a lot of healing and damage down for the London side. Support, by the way. Leo still going in on this path of destruction, finding so much. He's going to be looking for that Reinhardt. Manages to help with that kill. Leo also finding Turbo Kermit. Just about a 5k there for Leo. It seemed like no one was really attentive enough in that moment to deal with him. Maybe they didn't expect the Reaper. Medun coming up on this Earth Shatter though. There's not a lot that can really consistently block off this Shatter. He's going to be looking to get this last couple of vestiges of a charge and then go for a slam. There's the crash down. JP is going to go down. So should the Lucio, but they just don't focus him, and now he finally gets swung out. Trust me, I'm lying. Finding some damage here, but he's going to get killed for it. Baby Diva also goes down. Leo kind of looking for a word in, but can't seem to find one. Bit under pressure, and he'll get taken down. J-Dam decides he doesn't like his team being shattered for free, so he needs a bit of a more consistent shield tank. Swaps on to the counter Reinhardt. Goes down very quickly here. Manages to pin Cybersaurus, but that's about all that's going to happen. Nothing's going to get taken from that bomb. They have a lot of excess health here, and they want to find something with it.
Let's get you healed up. Move to the beat.
I just had to do something. Sorry. Anyway, what matters is Houston manages to take it. J-Dam swinging in. He's got the shatter. He goes right behind the enemy team and finds something with it. Charges straight into Turbo Kermit, taking him out. Leo also trying to find something with his Death Blossom, but just doesn't manage it. Unfortunately for him, too much armor for the enemy team. A little bit of a lag spike there, but now this nanoed Reaper is going to be looking to take out this Brig. He manages to get the shield, but then just decides to ignore her. He could have pressured her there, probably gotten the kill, but just decided it wasn't worth his time. He wanted to turn back around and get the Diva. Leo now going up top. He kind of wants to go behind the enemy team, and he will find the Zarya. He's also looking for the Baby Diva, finding her as well. Leo proving himself quite proficient on both Widowmaker and apparently Reaper, as now he's also behind this Brig and Reinhardt. He's not going to be the one who finds that kill though. It's going to be the Brigitte's whip shot knocking the Brine off of the point. It's a 99% for Houston. If they win this fight, they're going to win this round. Leo still looking for this Diva. It's like Leo is unkillable, either because no one focuses him or no one believes that they have the ability to kill him before they kill him. It's just a constant story of Leo getting behind the enemy team, taking out one, then another, then another, then another. Equally impressive is the rest of his team, who despite being down a DPS while he goes on these flanking maneuvers, is able to basically stand on their own and usually win the fight regardless.
What should I focus on today?
It looks like London might be running a bit of a different, looks like they're still willing to run a triple tank, triple support composition. But they are still going to change it up. Okay, they do. Now they are running a basic sort of 2-2-2 comp. It's a really sort of divey comp. I still think that this is going to be really weak to Leo's Reaper though. Winston, Doomfist, both really weak to the Reaper. Medun trying to find a way back here. He knows that she can't really heal herself, or the Ana can't really heal herself. Leo taking out Medun, doesn't really matter. The rest of his team is doing quite a lot of work regardless. The point should be Houston's as soon as they go onto it for the capture. There it is. Leo once again going on this extended flank. He sees the Tracer, but the Tracer sees him. He's not able to go for it. He does manage to find the Mercy, though. Leo trying to win this duel, but he's just not coming up with it, especially after the recall. Meteor Strike comes down, doesn't manage to find anyone. Ageless View trying his hardest, but this is going to be a cap for the side of London. Trying to take out Leo, almost succeeds, but he manages to wraith out just in time and get the healing. Pulse Bob comes out, does find JP. That's pretty good. That's going to delay the push from Houston just a little bit longer. Hopefully get them up to about equal percentage. Diva Bomb coming out. Does it find anything? It finds the other Diva. Once again, another delay on the side of Houston. Jadam pushing off a few of the enemy team himself before finally getting out to safety. Leo getting a bit frustrated. It looks like he's going to try and go on another flank here. Doesn't look like anyone on the London side really expects him to be doing this. He's going to be right in their back line, looking to get off this Death Blossom. Doesn't really need to. The rest of his team, once again, doing such a good job winning this frontline battle, even when they're down a man. They're just pushing in regardless. Yeah, it's just trying to delay as long as they can on London's side, but that's not going to be enough. Still get taken out. Still the point capture goes back to Houston. However, London does have a pretty sizable advantage here. Around about 2 fights worth, and now they're down a man before the fight even begins. Leo wants to rectify that, take out Grubmerk if he can. The recall comes out maybe a bit early on Grubmerk's side. Leo knows where he is. It's just going to be about RNG here. And luckily for Leo, the bullet pellets decide to go his way this time, and he takes out the Tracer. Leo almost getting taken out himself by that Zenyatta. He needs the healing from the rest of his team. Turbo Kermit going on to far. They're a bit frustrated that it seems like no matter what they do, they just can't win this battle, so they want to try a different approach. Maybe the air superiority will be enough. Grubmerk finally getting his revenge on Leo. Turbo Kermit kind of trying to put that Ryan where he wants him to be with these boops. Grubmerk managing to take him out. Roderi using this Transcendence, trying to help keep his team alive. Rotary at half health himself though. Jadam just seems like he's never near his team recently at the end of this fight, as my dogs bark wildly. They're as excited to see the end of this round as the rest of us are. However, it doesn't look like this is going to be the end of the round. It looks like London managing to take this back. We're going to have one more fight, and it's going to be Houston trying to push onto them. A large part of this fight is going to come down to how Jadam and how Leo use their ultimates. Jadam almost with this shatter. He wants to find it as quick as he can. He wants to use it before he dies. He's going to find an opportunity, not as long as that bubble's there. Leo's still looking for a place to use this Death Blossom. He knows that he's weak. He sees the Mercy in his peripheral vision and decides to go for it. Leo winning this last fight for his team, but to their credit, they managed to stay alive just long enough for him to find the perfect opportunity. Leo emoting. What a guy. What a man. 1-0, 2-0 for Houston. Houston also won Hanamura just a few minutes ago. So it's actually 2-1 in favor of Houston. Or 2-0 in favor of Houston. Monka ass. Brig managing to heal 20% of the team's damage. Not a main support, by the way. Not a main support, by the way. Nah. She's like Zenyatta levels of support. What's wrong with you? Jesus. What teams played in the finals last season? I don't know. Someone who was here last season could probably tell you that. Now, third map, we go on to Hybrid, which is Hollywood. I like Hollywood. A lot of people don't. I think they're wrong. Looks like we're still A-okay to start into this next round.
Welcome to Hollywood.
It's going to be another first attack from Houston. Last time that they had the first attack, back on Nimbani, or not Nimbani, back on Anamura, they showed a really impressive swing into the fray. Probably demoralized London quite a lot, and Houston has been carrying that invigorated passion, that momentum, the whole way through. The question is, will the last attempt of London managing to get so close to a victory for themselves be signs that maybe London is starting to figure out either how to work together or just how to work against Houston? It'll be interesting as it looks like the side of London picking a kind of unique sort of defense. Tracer, Torbjorn for the defense, Ageless Beauty, Suiciding. Don't do it, kids. Choose life. Brought to you by Disney XD. Bit of an interesting place to defend here. The Orisa is all the way back onto the point. Where is Turbo Kermit setting up this turret? Setting it up in the cheese spot. It's a pretty well-known place where it's difficult for the enemies to get sights onto the turret, but not the other way around. Grubmark is kind of letting his position be known if they would just look to the right side, but they're not. They're looking to go straight down the left side path. They want to take out this turret before the fight even starts. Not a bad call. Trying to get aggressive onto the enemy team. Not doing a bad job as Turbo Kermit is almost dead already. He only manages to armor pack himself. Finally, the first pick onto Cybersaurus comes out. Cybersaurus, that is not a death that his team could afford. Now Metahun, without that excess healing, is going to go down as the rest of his team will soon follow. Rotary is just trying his hardest to delay for as long as he can, but it's going to be basically in vain. This GOATS comp from the Houston side, really powerful. I honestly think I would like to see the league start defaulting to using Ana as a main healer instead of Mercy, because Ana is just way more relevant right now in terms of that she does more healing, she has better utility, and she counters GOATs. But it seems like a lot of this league generally like Moira and Mercy more instead. The Eva Bomb coming through, is it going to find anyone? It manages to fall right inside of the Reinhardt shield, taking him out. A little bit of a disparate fight here. Fight's being taken all along this sort of streetway. And that is going to be an advantage for London, as not only did they manage to get in on the backside of the Houston squad, but they also managed to use their ultimates pretty efficiently and get necessary picks. Trust me, I'm lying. Trying to go in here. He's fighting against a Winston, which is a little bit of his counter, and with the extra damage from Grubmark, he will get taken down. That's a bit of a stagger that he wishes hadn't happened. But look at the Houston side. Basically at 6 ultimates, compared to the basically 4 that London have. London also doesn't have any sort of good shield to try and stop this shatter, and Grubmark doing the enemy team a favor and killing himself. Reinhardt's shield is almost down. They want the enemy team, they want London to try and go on the ground and contest them so that they can find this shatter. They don't want to shatter one guy though, so he's just going to default to the hammer swings. Bomb doesn't find anyone. He's still looking for the shatter, but he's going to get taken out by that Torbjorn that he just recently ignored, deciding the rest of his team would finish him off eventually. And the kills are finally going in favor of the side of London. JP finally falling. He had quite a lot of charge. He wishes probably that he had just ran away with all that charge instead of dying outright. Ageless Beauty also getting himself to a bit of a sticky scenario. He still has a lot of health though, so he wasn't too much of a danger. But compared to the Hanzo in Grubmerg, a lot of health could become very little health very quickly. I'm really impressed here with the use of the positioning on the side of London. They're really abusing this high ground and the fact that they have 2 dive tanks. Meanwhile, the enemy team really has very little mobility as a whole, but that doesn't mean that they're able to stop this push onto the cart. Jadam is still holding on to the shatter and finally uses it. Doesn't find anyone because of the weird positioning. Does manage to find Cyber Source, but not before his own teammate will kill him first. Ageless Beauty and Jadam just tearing through the enemy team. This is going to be a cap for Houston. There's no way that the enemy team can get back in with a good recontest at this stage. Two ultimates on the side of Houston. Pretty strong if used together properly. The question is if they're going to find an opportunity to do so. Grubmerg just wants to use this ultimate, kind of zoning ultimate. We'll call it a zoning ultimate. Doesn't manage to find anyone though, and this Diva Bomb is also in a bit of a weird position itself. 2 ultimates used in less than optimal ways for London. Just unfortunate. Meanwhile, JP does manage to find the kill onto the monkey. Finally, the Zen will trans, but he's running straight away. He's not able to contest the point. He's still going to die regardless. Turbo Kermit might just be his team's last hope with this Molten Core. He needs to find something before he gets melted, but with the Brigitte stun meta, that's so difficult. 1,000 health can become 0 in the blink of an eye. Houston still just ripping and tearing through the enemy team. All that London is at this point is just ult batteries for them. There's nothing that they can do, really. They try and delay with this Mei, but not managing to find anything in the way of kills. Mei's going to be taken out just as soon as she gets out of that. Mickey using his Coalescence to try and seal the deal here, using it as an offensive ability instead of a defensive one. Can't blame him. Apparently he's got the skills for it. They want to find this baby diva, and they just don't manage to get her before she gets remech. That's going to be a few more seconds of a delay here, but eventually the capture will still go in the way of Houston. What is happening in this fight? In a word, a clusterfuck. Brought to you by Disney XD. Really just... Well, it was like... It was like the side of London had a generally good idea of what they wanted to do. They wanted to abuse all of the high ground. They wanted to abuse that they had these dive tanks. But the thing is that they just weren't able to really use that to their actual advantage come execution. They weren't able to use the fact that there was so much high ground and that Winston could benefit so much from just being a little bit out of reach of the enemy team, but still being able to basically shock all of them. Just unfortunate. I liked what London was doing. Unfortunately, against the GOAT's composition, there's really not much that you can do other than a very set number of counters.
Why are you so angry?
Just some nice voice lines there. That's all there is to say. The side of Houston not wanting to get crushed by Goats Comp themselves, running a few things that could be considered counter to that. They're still running Leo on this Reaper. Can't blame them. This is a pretty strong Reaper map in general. Meanwhile, the side of London are running these dive tanks. Very mobile DPS, mobile support and mercy. Looks like Turbo Kermit's going to be running right back through, but they might have wanted to try and aggress onto that. They did have a numbers advantage, but Grubmark is going to get taken out. Really unfortunate. Turbo Kermit swapping onto the Reinhardt. Yeah, I really think that they could have aggressed onto that with the numbers advantage. One side has a res, London, and the other side does not, so for London, getting a pick early into the fight matters so much more. Team's just gonna get chased out when you don't know what to say. Nice voice lines. Yeah, you're right. You're actually right. There's nothing to say. Ageless Beauty getting a bit aggressive here. He wants to get this charge, and he's going to succeed. He's now at 50. Wants to bubble his Reinhardt. Also, not managing to find much of anything with that. Two sides are just kind of in a staging phase right now. Leo does manage to find the pick onto Metahun. Now he's going to be looking for this Hanzo. Does find him as well. This backline Reaper does so much burst damage. So much damage that you really can't deal with unless you have like some immediate support. Leo getting a bit aggressive now. He kind of believes in his abilities a bit too strongly. Wanted to go for that Mercy, just couldn't manage the heat. Had to get out of that kitchen. Leo almost gets caught out, teleports himself away. Ultimates coming through from both sides. Fortunately, the trans is not going to be enough to keep Turbo Kermit alive from the burst damage of that charge. Leo still getting a bit more aggressive. He wanted to find the Hanzo, just didn't manage it. He's tilt-a-whirling, trying to dodge the bullets Matrix style. Now looking like he wants to get behind the enemy team with this teleporter. But first he has to survive this Diva Bomb, and the rest of his team will succeed in doing so. He's still in this backline. He finds the Hanzo, looking for an ultimate onto this Mercy that he's coming up on. Ultimate gets popped, and that'll be the fight win for Houston, or at least it should be. But there's still so many people alive on the side of London that Leo is still going to be in a little bit of a struggle here. He finds Rotary, but he's going to get pushed by this Tracer. The rest of his team is winning the fight on the point, though. Now, for both sides, the only ultimate is Metahun's Tactical Visor. He's going to be looking to find an opportunity to use it up top. He pops it, looking for the Lucio. Lucio gets behind a shield. He just doesn't manage to get it. So many shields, so much extra health, and finally Leo just realizing what he was doing, going behind him, and killing him regardless. Turbo Kermit gets the big slam onto a few members, and that should be enough for them to finally get a word in edgewise, but they still can't deal with Leo. Leo and the rest of the team still just tearing through them even after they get that numbers advantage. It's like if London don't get a team wipe, they get absolutely no room in edgewise. Grubmark trying his best, kind of trying to get a little bit of damage, maybe build up another pulse bomb, maybe just delay. But he will get taken out by Leo, just the same as the rest of his teammates. Metahun trying to find a little bit of damage here himself. Tries to pick off this Ana, almost succeeding, but he has to fall back, and he will fall right into that right into that shatter. He doesn't die for it, but close enough. Turbo Kermit leaving the game, probably just a disconnect. Unfortunately, doesn't matter. London can't touch, or maybe they did. Who knows? Either way, overtime Wick is going to be burned down. No one's able to touch this time. It really didn't matter if I paused right then, because after he would have joined back in, I know, I have pause bound. It wouldn't have mattered if I had paused, because he would have spawned in at the spawn door. He would have spawned in the spawn room, at which case it would have been basically the same. So I didn't see a reason to pause, and I still didn't. if there had been like, 30 seconds left or something substantial, then yeah, it should have been a pause. But otherwise, yeah, really strong hold coming in from Houston. Now 3-0. 3-0. Houston against London. Houston leaning so hard into the mechanical skill and game sense of not only Leo, but also the rest of their team's line. It just seems like London, it just seems like Houston, even if they don't have perhaps, it's like they don't seem to run necessarily set compositions, right? They seem very, very fluid, seem very liquid. Guys, this didn't work, so we'll run goats. Goats didn't work, so we'll run this, even though for them, goats has always worked. Leo, you're doing well on Reaper, just keep doing that. It just seems like Houston has this sort of thing where they're leaning really hard in the mechanical skill of their individual players, and it's working. As far as who left, Turbocurrent was the one who left during the game, so I don't know why someone else is now gone. In any case, once again, Houston, it's like London is a team that's pretty well known in the league for running goats, as the people in chat have so graciously mentioned. But Houston just runs it better. And even if they're not running goats, they just run everything else better. London's going to need to find something. Maybe they should run a bit of a weird composition. At this point, they're just looking for at least a single map win. They've already lost this round. It's already 3-0 in favor of Houston. So for London, it's purely just, okay, boys, we just want to find some way through the armor of the enemy team. Might I recommend a hamster ball? Which I don't think that we've seen too much of in this league. A second person has now left. They might think that the game is over because they've now lost 3-0, but no, we played a 4 maps regardless. And now more and more people are leaving. Start 3v6, please. I'm not going to do that. What do you mean, start 3v6? 2v6, please. Okay, boys. What is this garbage? Trivia, please start. Cyber, I can't... What do you mean? Okay, everyone's left. Yes, Cyber, I see that people... I'm not going to start a 2v6. That'd just be a waste of our time. Okay, London were the first team to leave. So I'm just going to count this as a 0-4 in favor of Houston, I guess. Okay, alright, well, if that's a forfeit, then I'm just going to need Cybersaurus gone, and the other one left as well. Okay. So now we should be getting into the next round. No point playing with this lag, we're going to forfeit. Okay, they decided to forfeit because of the lag. I can't blame them. But now we do have a second game, which should be starting fairly soon. I don't know if the teams are going to be ready, as it is a little bit early for their team, for their match to start, it's going to be Philadelphia versus LA Valiant. I think probably the teams might want me to. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream. The reason I'm going to end the stream is so that we can start up for the next round with a different title for those different teams. And also because if the teams aren't ready yet, this is going to be about 15 minutes or so at the very least of me just mumbling to myself, and I'd rather not do that. So this, I suppose, is the end of this stream. Next game should be starting fairly soon. So yeah, I guess if you're following the channel, you're just going to get spammed with notifications that the rounds keep starting over and over again. Sorry. Regardless, thanks for being here this time around. I think, unfortunate for London having that lag spike, but Houston, regardless, still showing themselves to be a really strong team going into the next couple of rounds of this season.